We have got a side body class today. As far as props go, probably the only thing you're going to need is something like a blanket. A cushion could probably work just as well, and a block, a yoga block. And we're going to start laying down on our backs. So you could even use that blanket to, rest your head on to begin with. So when you come down, you're going to settle to your back. Up to you whether you want your legs straight or your knees bent. Now, I've chosen side body practice today, partly because I had a yoga teacher friend contact me last night. She was needing inspiration, and I came up with this idea. But one of the reasons why I'm choosing it is because when things are a bit overwhelming, or we just feel like we've got a lot on our plate, it's a very funny time of year. It can be this exchange between autumn and winter can be tough. If we break things down a bit, it's much more manageable. So we're going to concentrate on one side and then the other. And the action of doing that means at some point we learn how these two sides come together. And that's at a time when we are feeling more like we can accept more information. So to begin with, we break it down, make it small and very specific. So as I said, settle your body, and we'll just allow ourselves to arrive. Whatever we've got going on, let's bring it to the mat. And then just let your breath come and go. You might want to sigh out through your mouth. An excellent way to release tension. And just see how your breath settles, see how your body settles. And we've got no obligation here to do anything. At any time you feel like you want to pause and just rest for a moment, or just to settle into your body again, you can. So from the center of the back of your head, notice if that's quite even on the ground. And then the base of your skull is a bit closer to the floor, and your shoulders, as they move away from your ears, the sides of your throat, your neck, can be quite long, free of any tension. Stress obviously brings our shoulders up closer to our ears. And then it tightens things across the shoulders and the chest. So this position we've just got ourselves into is a way to release tension. And maybe you can feel parts of the spine resting on the floor. And then the lower back and the pelvis. So we've got two very heavy ends of the spine resting, the head and the pelvis, and this tube in between. And it's by no means straight. It's got its natural curves, both sideways and forwards and backwards. And we're going to really learn a bit more about that today. And learn how that's different on one side to the other, and how that's okay. And the legs, if they're straight, maybe you can feel the weight of those thighs, calves, and ankles. Okay, so we're going to start to bring in some movement. We're going to bring in both arms. So nice and simple, with an inhale, bring the arms up. And when you let the breath go, the arms come back down to your sides. And as you do this, notice how your spine changes shape and how it moves. How you come away from feeling your weight and then going back into feeling your weight, your body weight. And again, inhale, just gently allowing the spine to wake up, move. Okay, and then we're going to add on to this. So next inhale, bring the both arms again overhead, and I want you to hold your right wrist with your left hand. Now the legs, what we're going to do is we're going to take those over to the left and then pop. You're probably at the edge of your mat. Put your left ankle on top of your right ankle and just notice the waist is beginning to open. And then if it's comfortable for you, move your body to the left, including head, shoulders. And now we've opened up the side of the body on the right, closed a bit more on the left. And I don't know if this is something that you feel in your body, but for me, I feel like the right side of my pelvis has lifted a bit. Now, I'd like to play with that. So as we inhale, really let it lift. And on the exhale, if it feels okay, we're going to gently guide the ribs on the right, pelvis on the right, back to the floor. So as you inhale, it settles into its natural position, and the exhale, you're inviting it back down. That's 2. Let's do 3 more. If this doesn't feel good for you, don't worry. You can just stay here and breathe. 3, and again, long breath in. And as you breathe out, settle some ribs. Last one. Inhale, and then back and release. So untangle the ankles and then walk the feet to the center of your mat and adjust your upper body and switch your clasp. It's now right hand on left wrist. Walk your legs to the right, so it's right ankle sits on top of left. And then that upper body position, you curve it to the right. All of this side waist on the left. Maybe it goes down the leg as well. You just notice where for you feel this. To me, it's very different on this side to the other side. And I think that would be very normal. We feel a difference. So we're going to notice if we've lifted a little bit from the ribs and pelvis. So as you inhale, really go into that, exaggerate it. And then on the exhale, it's a really miniature movement of down. And breathe in again, lift and reach. You might want to extend a little bit more and then relax down. 2. Really use your breath here to invite that change of shape in your body, your torso. And coming up to 4 and release. And then this 5th one, reach and stretch. And then relax, walk, untangle the ankles first, walk the feet back, and then walk the upper body back as well. And we'll just release the arms down the sides, pause for a moment, and just let everything adjust itself. So with a stretch, the feeling of a stretch, with that, we can really invite tension to go. It's a well-known practice. We sometimes do this before shavasana or restorative kind of work. We stretch and reach through the muscles, because then when you soften and relax, that's kind of like signaling deep inside that you can go into that relaxation. It's not all about holding the tension and staying there. It's about visiting it and then coming away from it. So we're going to do a full body stretch now. So this is a very good example of what I've just said. So reach the arms overhead. Okay, reach out through your heels, reach out through your fingertips. Make yourself really long here. There's a curve, obviously. And I'm going to say on the exhale, just flop and relax. Let the feet flop out to the side. The elbows might bend. And just see if that feels good. So remember, this is a really nice way to get the tension out. You could just do this as a practice on its own. So 4 more. Breathe in, reach, heels, reach away, and relax. Give your body time to receive that message, the benefits. Again, reach, breathe in. Let that go. 3. And again. You can really exaggerate this. Release. We got our last one. And let that go. And bring the arms down. And just let the arms settle by the body. Let the feet flop out to the side. And just bask in this feeling in your body. Hopefully it's a good feeling. That would be my intention. That things just feel a bit more like you. Okay, and then let's come on to one side. It doesn't matter which side, because you can change next for the other one. I'm just adjusting my microphone. Okay, so you could still use your headrest, whatever you've got there. I'm just going to make mine a little bit higher. And we want the shoulders to be relaxed. We're going to have the knees bent and one arm out in front of you, and the other arm can just rest on the top of your hip to begin with. So what we're going to do, top leg, we're going to extend that away in a straight line down away from you. And then just gently let that come back behind you without swaying or rolling backwards. You're still in position. So this hand that's on the hip, bring it around the front of the pelvis, and you'll notice how this is where the work, this is the area where the work is happening. Perhaps for me, it's also in the buttock and the lower back a little bit. So if you want to switch your hands around there and just offer support through that, that's fine. And then we're going to bend the knee, and with the hand on the hip or round behind you, you'll get to sense if you start to roll back. And the minute you roll back, stop. But bring that knee up as high as you can. And now extend it away. So let's have this as the inhale, and behind you a little bit without rolling back. And then exhale, draw it in and up. Breathe and reach. Two more. Nice and slow. We get to really work specifically and not, do a lot of effort without really being in the process. So from this bent knee position now, I want you to extend the foot out in front of you and then bend the knee back in. So this works different muscles. It's a bit more buttock, and again, in front of you, out in front of you, sorry, and bend the knee. And again, 3, like you're pushing something away with your foot. 4. And you can do that with as much effort or as little effort as you want. 5. Okay, straight leg. Take it down to the floor. And here, just let it relax, because I don't know if you can sense, there is a bit of a need to lift the under ribs to find that length through the side of your body. So lift the ribs underneath you and bring that top arm up and over. So it's like what we were doing on the floor a moment ago, but you're doing it on one hip. And then slowly bring that arm back. And then bend the knees, let them touch, and switch sides. I will spin round because I need to obviously be facing the camera. All right, here we go. Other side. Knees touch to begin with. Hand on the hip, all right? And then we begin by straightening the leg away. It goes behind a little bit without us rolling back. And then what do we do? Oh, we bent the knee, sorry. And then bring that knee up, extend it out. And you're really working on being steady here and noticing the action in the hip and how that connects into the buttock and side waist. 3, 4. And this 5th one. We're going to keep the knee in, because remember, we're going to take this foot out in front of us. So, how much you push away is totally up to you, but definitely do that on the exhale. This is probably about 3 and 4. And our final one, 5. Bend the knee, bring it back in, and then straighten the leg down the end of the mat. Foot can go to the floor, but as it goes to the floor, that lifts the under ribs and that top arm can reach up and over. So you're settled on the under hip. Okay, bring the arm back. Okay, nothing under your head now. What we're going to do is roll onto your back. Come to the spine, notice the length of it. Go back to being aware of the heaviness of your head and heaviness of your pelvis, okay? So we're going to do our bridge pose, the version where we make the body very long, not so arched. So we can now extend out through both sides of the body here as we do this. Leave the arms out for now, so they just stay down. Feet roughly underneath the knees, and you're pressing hard through your feet to let your lower back go to the floor, and then the pelvis can just float up. So it doesn't need to go high, but when you get to where you're going, let the upper end descend. So a couple of ribs around shoulder blade area, back of heart. Just let them settle on the ground a bit more and see if you can extend through the side of your waist, the pelvis, the side of your legs, and out through your knees to make your body longer. Take a breath in. You're going to come down as you breathe out and just seeing if you get sections of your spine. Maybe there's some blind spots. That's quite normal. And then you let the pelvis settle. So we'll do 4 more. We'll bring the arms into this. Feet press through the floor, lower back curls. You lift and bring the arms up. Remember the head end, you're releasing some of those vertebra and ribs to the floor. Take a breath in, come down on an out breath. You can either leave the arms where they are or bring them down slowly with you. If they stay where they are, obviously when you settle, bring the arms back. Okay, let's do 3 more. And let's make this a fluid movement here. So feet, lower back, pelvis lifts, arm lifts. And then slowly down as you breathe out. Making the waists long and open. And again, breathe in, heels, lower back, lift. Take your arms if you want. And as you come down, you're really noticing how you can open out through the side of the body, but how it wraps around you. It goes around your back to your spine and around your front to your navel. And again. Okay, breathe and slowly come down. There's a really pivotal point, I think, where there's a feeling of it really wrapping around your body, and then just stay on the ground. Hands can come onto the front of the pelvis and just, yeah, enjoy that feeling of, I've got a really long torso, which is unusual for me, being a short person, but this feels really gorgeous. My spine is just feeling so relaxed. There's a lot of space. I can breathe well. And there's, a feeling of like, this is okay. Life's not too bad. So we will come in our own time. If you need to stay here for a couple more breaths, you'll catch us up. It's not a problem. But you can roll to one side, come up, and then come onto hands and knees. So the blanket or the cushion that you had at the beginning, good idea to have that to hand down the side of your mat, because we're going to bring it in a moment. Okay, so hands out in front, knees underneath those hips. So we've done already some great work with the spine, and I think these 2 poses will really expose that to you. If you go first into this pose at the beginning of the practice, there might be some clunkiness in the spine, but now you'll probably feel how fluid your spine is. So find neutral to begin with. That might mean you need to lift your ribs. And as you inhale, think about walking all the way up from your tail to mid-back to the back of the head, and how the spine has got its curves, yeah? And then let's do head and between the shoulder blades, lower back, and tail as you go in the opposite direction. All right, so with your breath, breathe in. And there's a very real experience here that's similar to what we were just doing as to opening the waist. And that wrapping around feeling. I feel it more on the inhale than I do on the exhale. That just might be me, but yeah, see where it is for you. 2 more, breathe in. Let your spine get a bit longer. You're opening the space and then move into it. And then this last one, this is when we're going to use the blanket or the cushion. So as you begin to breathe out, take the pelvis back, grab the cushion, whatever it was, put it high up, top of the hips. You might want to take your knees wider, and you're going to release down. You could use your hands as a prop for your head, or you could put your head on the floor. Arms out if you like. or down the sides. It really doesn't matter. And as you take each breath, where for you, down the sides of your body, or maybe it's a little bit further round, do you feel the opening? I don't feel it so much at the front because obviously we have the cushion, the blanket there, but I really feel it around the back, around my bottom ribs, from the side all the way to the spine. On an inhale, and it's, a nice place for me to remind you, it's, we're breaking this down, 2 sides, to make things a bit more easy and less stressful for us, and that how those 2 sides come to meet one another in the middle. Yeah. So remove your prop, okay? But stay down there and then walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. This obviously opens out the left side of your body. You could rest your head down on your left arm if you want. And then we'll move through the center over to the other side, same thing. But just resting your head, because your head is heavy and you've got a really good prop here, your arm, so you could just pop it there. And then back through the middle. One more each side. And if you feel like tilting, you bring in a little bit of a twist here. So the left elbow can go to the floor, head rests on that arm, left ribs are closer to the floor, right ribs turn a little bit towards the ceiling. Twist, a twist and an opening. So see if you can hold in your body those 2 experiences side by side. Through the middle and then to the left. Same thing, it's all happening though on the right side. So don't let the twist take over everything. There's still the curve, the bend, and with that comes more space. And then back through center. Okay. Hands out in front. Let's really reach away. So like you're trying to touch the end of your yoga mat, but you're keeping your hips down. I mean, this is, yeah, full extension of hip to fingertips. And then slowly come on to your knees. We'll take this into a really nice, slow and lazy downward dog. Okay, so tuck your toes under, hips back to your heels, and then lift your knees. Get the hips in the air. And here, you might get the feeling of the length, the reach. It goes all the way from the outer wrists to the outer ankles. You've gone up the side of your arms, armpit to hips, and then the hips. And it goes around the side of your hips, down the side of your legs. So if you want to move here, then by all means, just do what your body would like. And settle a little bit more into your shoulder joints. So take some work away, because I think that's very common for us yogis to get tense in the shoulders. And we can use the inner muscles instead of the outer muscles all the time. And that just requires you to relax a little bit. That might mean you need to bend your knees. You could reach your hips back. Anytime you need to come to your knees, you just do that. It's just that I'm just giving you a bit more of a deeper experience here if it's possible for your body this morning. Okay, now slowly walk your hands back to your feet. Hands back to your feet so your heels go to the ground. Heel toe the feet out so you're really quite wide here. You're going to bend your knees and you're going to be folded right over your legs. So you may need to take feet wider, bend knees further, and you're just going to let yourself dangle. And then straighten a little bit and then walk the fingertips to one side, doesn't matter which. And you'll feel the stretch. And then back through the center to the other side. Again, you'll feel the stretch. And I think these kind of movements, so take your time, back to center, come up. I think these kind of movements really highlight where we have maybe one side a little bit tenser than the other. Yeah. And then when we have that information, we can work with it, basically. So, okay. Walk to the top. Yeah. Let's just roll those shoulders around a little. Backwards and then forwards. Okay, bring the hands together at the heart. Feet hip distance apart. If you prefer further, that's fine. You know, if you want to turn your toes out, that's fine. Okay, so from here, we're going to do what we did at the very beginning, which was find the center of the back of the head. So imagine that that's resting against the ground. We then allowed the shoulders to drop a little bit, so the side of the neck felt longer, less of us holding our shoulders. We went down our spine until we came to the back of the pelvis. So if you want to, you could put one hand on the back of the head and one hand on the back of your pelvis. Those two, when we were laying down, obviously gravity working a different way, they were two heavy points. Now here, what I'd like, not for them to feel heavy, but I'd like you to notice the distance between the two. And can you just find a little bit more distance? Because everybody with it, we can all just to get our spine a little bit longer. It might not be visible on the outside, but it sure is something that you can feel internally. And you're doing, you know, great work if you can identify that and find the length. All sorts happens on the inside to create that. So find a little bit more length and then bring the hands again back to your heart center. Okay, we're going to try and keep this length, this feeling of openness, and just go through a few sun salutations. And I'll give you some different things to do with Cobra to remind us of this. Okay, so breathe in. Slightly bend your knees, pelvis back, and down you go. Let the head drop. Inhale, lift just a little bit. Here we go. This is where we're trying to remind the body of that space. Release the hands back to the floor. One leg behind and the other. A nice long body here. Knees to the ground. Bend the elbows. They come in the hip direction. And you release your body to the floor. Okay, arms down the sides of your body and away from your body a little bit. Your head is lifted, your shoulder blades are lifted. The front of the shoulders, sorry, are lifted. And I just want you to roll your arms out and then back around the other way. And watch what goes on with the front of your shoulders as you do this. And notice how you lift when you do a certain movement and how you drop when you do the other one. And last time. Okay, bring the hands back by your sides, tuck your toes under, come onto those knees, hips to heels, lift the pelvis, downward facing dog. And when we're here, we can do a reminder of this full length. This time, let's do it from the center. We know how it feels from the sides. Let's do it from the back of the head, that point we were touching, and all the way to the back of the pelvis, that point we were touching earlier. So what do you need to do in your body to make that longer? For me, it's bend my knees, and then I can get deep into that central column and find like my body wants to, like my spine wants to grow. It's not growing, obviously, but it's finding more space in between the vertebra, because obviously we can't change bones, but we can create space in between the vertebra, you know, where the discs are. And they love this, by the way. This creates mobility in our bodies. But I mean, put all of that aside, the benefits, just notice how it feels for you. For me, I relax in this stretch. I don't go floppy, but my body is like kind of doing a big sigh. Okay, and then straighten the legs, lift one leg in the air, bend the knee, bring that forwards, and then let the other leg come up, and then drop your tail. So you've got your knees slightly bent here. You're going to drop your tail. You're going to invite your navel to draw back, and then slowly up you come. Doesn't stress the spine when you do that. So we're not taking anything away from what we're creating here. Yeah. So hand on the back of the head. Now, if you put the same hand, maybe switch around. That's a bit more wise, isn't it? But change the hands and then find that adjustment that you need to do in your body. So you're looking to lengthen the side of your neck. Let the shoulders be relaxed. I understand one of them is up slightly. Let the shoulders be relaxed. And then all the way from throat to kind of the pubic bone and from back of skull to your tail is slightly reorganizing itself. It's finding a different equilibrium. Okay, release the hands, bring them to be in front of your hearts. Remain with the length. Take a good breath in. And as you breathe out, you're going to bend your knees a little bit. Stay with the length as long as you can. Fingertips to the floor. Inhale, lift to a halfway place. And then step back, one leg and the other. Release to the floor. And then slowly down you go. All right, a different cobra this time. So you're going to lift your elbows and lift your hands. And it's sort of like you're swimming almost. You're going to take your right palm all the way over to the left, bring the elbow back, and then the same on the other side. So notice how much you're curving, but this is work now. The back muscles are really doing work. Right hand over, elbow comes back, left hand over, elbow comes back. Just one more, because these are hard. Breathe in, breathe out. I find it hard to take a full breath. If you find that the same, we're in the same club. Hands down, tuck your toes under, come onto those knees. Hips go up. Oh yeah. Back to the firm favorite, downward facing dog. Adjusting, opening out. It's this process that we go through. When we arrive, we haven't actually arrived. It takes time. Breathe. Okay. So, other leg in the air. And we're going to move from here into our standing poses, which is actually going to be a kneeling pose to begin with. So doesn't matter which knee is down. It might be nice to put a block underneath, or if you prefer to just pad it with what you had or what you used before, that's fine too. All right. Hands onto the hips here. So you've probably got your hip over the back knee, more or less. And I've got my toes tucked under. That feels right because my block is, there's a thickness to it. And it just feels kind of natural. But if you're on a lower thing, you might have your toes on the ground. You can change that at any point. So with the hands on the hips here, we're just going to move forwards with the pelvis just a little bit and then backwards. Not taking this into a really deep lunge. We're just experimenting to begin with. So this time when you go forwards, notice where in your spine you shrink a little bit. For me, it tends to be a bit more around the lower back than anywhere else. So let's use the arms to invite length. So the arms can come up. Yeah, that kind of helps it. I don't sink so much. I don't know if that's the same for you. Sideways, nice and long, forwards and backwards. You can bring the arms down or whichever way you like. And again, and release. Take the hands to the floor and we're just going to switch, block around, switch the leg around and do the same thing on the other side. So remember, I'm always saying how we have these asymmetries in the body and things can feel different one side to the other. And they really can. So let's just test. Is it in the same place for you here on this side, this version? Hands on hips. And you're just moving forwards a little bit and back. And again, a little bit forwards. Notice where there isn't so much space. Notice where we're compressing. Interestingly, for me, this side is a bit more, it's higher up. It's sort of a bit more mid-back, not so much lower back. So let's bring in the arms and see if that invites, yep, length. All right, so breathe in, moving forwards, breathe out, bring the arms down. So try and keep the length even when you bring the arms down. So it's the same a little bit as that Morecambe and Wise movement, yeah, but slightly different. Okay, so now switch the block again back to first side. We're going to take this into a twist. So you're going to twist towards the knee that's bent at the front. So one of the ways to do twists, or kind of the preferred way to do twists, is with the length in your spine because it makes it easier then to turn it. If it's compressed, there's going to be resistance. So we've discovered that if we take the arms up with this movement, we've got quite good length in the spine. So let's do one of those. Bring the palms together over your head. And then as you bring the hands back down to in front of the heart, keep the length. Those waists are long, hearts lifted, like there's distance between back of head and tail. And now tilt forwards and then bring the elbow, opposite elbow to knee, on the knee and then gently turn. So There might be a little bit of wobbling here, in which case I'd say lengthen a little bit more. Breathe. So we're trying to keep both sides of our waist nice and long here. And then turn and look down. Bring your fingertips to the floor and just walk that front foot forward so the heel can stay down, toes can lift. And you're trying to kind of go inside the knee. And maybe with a couple of breaths, you can keep shifting yourself a little bit closer. Maybe the back of the legs won't allow this, but gently breathe in and out. Okay, slide that leg back, switching your block so we can do the twist on the other side. All right. So you're going to come up. Bring your hands on your hips first of all. Yeah. And then from here, as we breathe in and take the pelvis forward, we're lifting the arms overhead, palms can touch, and then keep the length. That's crucial. Hands come back in front of your heart space, opposite elbow. So you kind of, as you move forward, you're remaining with the length through both sides of your waist and taking the elbow to the knee. And work out where you've shrunk into yourself. I think probably a lot of people shrink on the underneath side. It's much easier to stay open on the top side, harder to stay open underneath. You can turn your head if you want. And then bring the fingertips either side of that front foot. We'll wiggle the foot forwards, lift the toes, keep the heel down. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, you're just descending a bit closer, but with real compassion here, no forcing. Your body, I think, really does let you know here what's acceptable, what's not. Okay, good. Last breath. And then I think a downward dog would be really nice after this. We'll get kind of a lot of information fed back. So bring that front foot to the floor, remove your block, and downward dog. Okay, and yeah, settle into this. Notice what you need to adjust. You're just looking to open that spine compassionately and giving it a lot of length, because when that central column opens, that will open the ribs, that will open the waist at the side. And as I said previously, it goes down the side of the legs and all the way to the ankles. Okay, breathe. Let's take the right leg in the air, bend the knee and bring that left foot forwards. Right foot forwards. Leave the left foot back behind you and get the heel on the ground. Front foot, right foot, the knee is bent and you're going to bring yourself up. Stay with a bent knee at the front here. Taking the arms out forwards and backwards. We've got warrior 2 here. Now, straight away, I kind of feel this backside waist is a little bit shrunk. Yeah, so I'm just going to adjust my legs and then remind myself of this. So put your hand on the back of your head, hand on the back of the pelvis, and find, yeah, a lot more room there. Notice where that goes. For me, I kind of noticed it more around the side of the hip than anywhere else. Interesting. All right, arms back out again. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, let's tilt to the back leg. Our work here is to keep this back waist open as much as we can. It closes, but I'm saying there's room there for it to remain long. And then you could put your hand around your thigh. And if you feel like straightening the front leg and inviting an opening in that front side waist, then you can, or you keep it bent. Okay, back we come. Warrior two. Let's go down into downward dog, last one, so that we can switch and do this on the other side. Left leg in the air. Keep the right foot where it is. Your left foot comes forwards, the knee is bent, right heel is on the ground. You bring yourself up, arms forwards and backwards. Yeah, maybe noticing the difference in the side waist. There's a lot of reasons that this will feel like this. I probably won't go into all of it today, but other hand, if you can remember, on the back of the head and the other one on the back of the pelvis. Yeah, and see where that adjustment needs to take place. All right, keep it. Take the arms out again, warrior two. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, you're just kind of taking that back hand down to the leg, top arm up and over. And you can do that straight leg if you want. Lovely. And then back we come, warrior two. And downward dog. Just so that you can go from there to your knees and then to your side. We come to the last little bit of the practice, nice and slow, but what we're going to do next is more about exploration than anything else. Side of the body, but we're going to include the neck and the shoulder as well. Now, I'm just folding up my blanket because I'm going to have that underneath my ribs on the side that's going to be laying on the floor, okay? Acting as a little prop. I mean, some of you might want to use a bolster. For me, that would curve my body too much for what we're going to do, but you could play with this and see which you prefer. So if you're having it under the bottom ribs, you can use the elbow and arm of the arm closest to the floor as a headrest, or you could bring in something like a cushion and get super cozy. Yeah, whichever you want to do. So I've got my knees stacked and bent, but I haven't got them right up. Yeah, perhaps leave them a little bit further away from you. So my waist, just going to adjust that a little bit. Yeah, the waist, okay, yes, it's curved, but it's not overly curved. So we're going to be working here at this top area, and it will influence things down here in the waist. So the arm, bring that arm up. Without rolling back, I want you to take the arm behind you. I'm hitting my plants here. Take the arm behind you and roll, like we did in Cobra. Roll the arm around in the joint and roll it back. Take your time doing this. Like I said, it's explorations. Now, for me, I feel a bit more open when I've got the palm facing up and actually rolling a bit further behind me. So I'd be surprised if anybody has it the other way. But anyway, so when the arm is rolling and the palm is facing up, pause there. So you don't have the arm right above you, it's down, yeah, just off from your hip. And just gently keep taking that arm away. You'll start to feel things in the shoulder and the neck. Now, let's drop the head to look down to the mat, kind of at a diagonal almost. And breathe. And then see if you want to extend the top leg and kind of take that in a bit of a lazy manner behind you. You're not holding it up. You want to be doing as little as possible with your muscles. It's just to get a bit more length in the top of your waist, yeah, on the hip as the head drops. So maybe move your arm around behind you to see where that might help your neck and shoulder. This is very individual, but I am seeing a lot of tight shoulders, and mine seems to be creeping up more than I want them to at the moment. Okay, so stack the legs, bring the arm, just let it rest on the side of the body. So notice how that needs to filter through your body. It's quite powerful in a way. I'm just switching around. Of course, you can just roll yourself over to the other side. I'm going to do this over here. Yeah. So set yourself up, knees stacked, not high up. Whatever it is you're using underneath your ribs, make sure that it's definitely supporting those lower ribs. Top arm resting on the thigh to begin with. And then you're going to bring that arm up and behind you, and we're going to do those shoulder rolls. Rolling the arm around in the joint. So you end up with the palm facing up one way, and then it faces up the other way. And because of how the shoulder joint works in conjunction with, well, the shoulder blade is involved in it, but how that feeds back into your spine, you might need to find different areas to make that acceptable. I actually would like something higher underneath me on this side. Interesting. So I'm just going to tweak my underwaist up a little bit. That supports this movement. So it's interesting when you discover things that are connected to one another, when you think they don't have an influence, quite often they do. So palm facing up, and then drop your gaze down, take your head with you so that this lengthens the side of your neck at the same time. You might get feelings down the arm that are a little bit new to you. That might be a bit more like you're stretching the fascia, or even the coatings around the nerves can sometimes message back a sensation. Just hold that. I mean, when I say hold, it's not a rigid hold. You can move. But we're staying in this outward position. And then slowly bring it back. Let it rest on the side of your body. Give it time. It needs time to recalibrate. To digest. I really feel a warmth. That's nice. So that's an increase in blood flow. So, you know, it's good to recognize these things. All right, so we can do one more thing before we go to Shavasana. So I'm going to use the long length of this blanket. Be a bit harder if you're doing this with pillows. Great with a bolster. I don't feel like I need a bolster today, or that I want a bolster, more to the point. So this is acting like a low-level bolster for a moment. So the back of my pelvis is going to be here, right at the front of this blanket. I'm going to use my fingertips beside me to keep this opening I've got. And I'm going to walk that back until I can come to elbows and then let my head rest. I put a pillow there, let my head rest on that, and I'm just going to let my legs go straight. You could have bent knees, crossed ankles, anything like that. So I'm feeling all of my spine supported here. Just going to let my arms rest to the side. So the two heavy ends again, back of head, back of pelvis, and everything that's in between. Like everything is rejoining down this midline seam, one at the front, one at the back. But the spaciousness is really present. I'm really aware, not just in the waist, but also in the ribs. And this means we can breathe well. And just generally feeling that things are not clinging on so much, that I'm not holding on to stuff that I don't need to. I'm not holding on to stuff that's not mine, or things floating around. I'm just enjoying this spaciousness that's been created through this practice. I'm letting my body soak it up. So with each breath, can you do the same? Can you settle into this open, clear, fresh space that you too have created? And so if you want to stay like this for your Shavasana, you can, by all means. But if you want to have something underneath your knees, maybe grab your blanket and just tuck that a little bit higher, not so much underneath your knees, unless you really want to, obviously, but just behind the top of your thighs to encourage the back to be down. So decreasing the arch. And you could rest your hands on your tummy. You could put your eye pillows on. You could put a blanket over you. And as you breathe, notice how you settle on the exhale. Notice where you settle, how you settle, and how that nurtures you. where you are. Bring some movement into your body, small, like fingers and toes and ankles and wrists. And our last reminder of what we've been practicing today: straight legs, straight body, straight arms over your head. Don't work this though. Do this at about 50%. Reach a little bit. And then bring the arms back. Bend a knee. Second knee. And it's a slow rising to sitting. And when you come to your seat, imagine you've got one hand behind your head, the other hand behind the back of the pelvis. That little reminder that the space in between does not need to shrink. It doesn't need to feel burdened in any way or heavy. Protective. That's another reason why we shrink. We're protecting ourselves. But just a little bit of arising, just so you feel more of yourself. Open out the palms, breathe in, let the hands come together, and then bringing those hands all the way in front of your heart. Namaste. So nice to practice with you today. I appreciate it.